From backflipping a bicycle at the X Games to commentating at the Olympics for NBC, Kenan Harkin went all in with Kamp Kenan, a reptile breeding sanctuary located in South Florida. Kenan believes there's a scientist in all of us, and his goal is to make science fun for both children and adults alike. Let's take a listen.
That while I was actually in my career, I always was dreading losing my career. So then it happened and I'm faced with it and it's like, holy crap.
This is the Gold Medal Mindset, where we bring you all things winning in business, sport, and life. I'm Dr. Jason Richardson, pro BMX world champion and Pan Am Games gold medalist. Now I'm a professional speaker, author, and winning mindset coach. Thanks for joining in. Get ready to mine for gold as we challenge your perception to change your results. Gold Medal Mindset with Kenan Harkin. A bit of a kindred spirit here because, folks, he is a BMX guy. That said, though, he's not the kind of BMX guy I am/was. He is a freestyler, so he's the dude on the ramp doing the backflips, the tail whips, and those tricks that we don't even know names to, the death-defying tricks, and our paths would cross either at a race or a freestyle competition because they'd both be going on at the same time. And then he was this big TV star commentator guy. But before we get into all that, I want to introduce the world to Kenan Harkin. How you doing?
I'm great, Jason. I'm really psyched to be here with you, man. And I'm hopefully we'll dive into some things. And maybe you can help me out with some of my psychoses that I still currently possess, man.
I don't know. I think some of your issues probably help you stay on top of things.
Definitely. You know, I always say sometimes, your weaknesses can become your strengths and your strengths can become your weaknesses. It's about balance, about finding a place to navigate, without going too far in one direction.
That sounds very Jedi.
Does that make sense?
That's very Jedi.
Well, listen, we are children of the 80s and, there is a little bit of that to my mindset. But I mean, I'm ADD straight up, like diagnosed. So if things don't, it's really funny when people hear ADD, they think it's just attention deficit, and you're hyperactive. But in some ways, ADD makes you hyper-focused to where when you're hyper-focused on something like, say, a loved one or, like a girlfriend wants to talk to you, but you're like focused in on something, you get really annoyed at the external, at the voice coming that you're not focused on. So it's like, it can be challenging, but because of that, it's also helped me. It's like, you use it as a superpower.
That's what I was about to say. That's what I call it, a superpower. My son isn't quite there yet with it. He hasn't learned to harness the force is all.
Gotcha.
But I believe, and it's my thought, that a lot of people who excel in action sports, BMX, surfing, skateboarding, whatever, if they're not technically ADHD, clinically ADHD, they have those tendencies because you're placing yourself in an environment where there's a lot of excitement, a lot of things moving, a lot of things going on. And so as a person with ADHD, you're craving an environment that's moving as fast as your brain is.
Exactly right. And it's funny because, you can get heavy real quick. A lot of people that have some of this will seek out negative ways to kind of get that high. And obviously, we're talking about external chemicals and so on. You don't realize it until you get older. And you can look back and go, oh, that's, just like you said, why I got into it. Oh, I like the feeling of weightlessness. I like it. I'm very, I'm connected to my body, body and mind are connected to.
You're kinesthetic.
Yeah, exactly. So it's energy and motion, just, always have to be touching and doing something or feeling exhausted. And that was the high, and then later on in life, when that career ended, I kind of realized that the high keeps going. I go to the gym, I still get that, but thinking, applying yourself is also another type of, high as well, like getting excited, creating, so that's something I'm into as well.
So that was the kicker. So I've known you for a while. I think you've even interviewed me when I was a racer. It's hilarious. But what really wanted me to have you on the show was I saw, like, you're the dude who's looking to do something, and even if you don't have anything going on, it's like, what can I do? So I saw your Facebook Live, and you were super pumped about this. It was I think your car broke, like the axle on your car, and you were so excited, and I could see it in your eyes, like you had crazy eyes about it. You were so excited about the fact that you could look up on YouTube and get this part and fix it. That was level 1. Then level 2 was, I'm making money on the deal. I don't have to pay Audi $3,000. I could fix it for $200 in my time. And then level 3 was, I have something to do.
Yeah, you hit it.
Project.
I mean, no, it's, in this day and age, I love the time we're in. It's pretty amazing because look, I'm not Steve Jobs, okay? But like, it is incredible that the library is in the palm of your hands, okay? Now, you can choose to be on Snapchat doing nothing with this power, or you can choose to like really expand your mind. And so, and another thing that I think that helps is if you go broke, you get real smart real fast. Like, like I bought that Audi. It's an Audi. Okay. So it's a German car. It's an import. That sucker's expensive. It's now legit 13 years old. And it was just, something that, I went in and they're telling me it's going to be $1,800. And I'm like, I don't want to afford that 13-year-old car. I mean, come on. So quick Google search, find the axle for a reconditioned axle for like $120, and it's like game on. Like, and the other thing that helps too is like you got this information in palm of your hands, but there's also something to be said about human interaction. About one of the ways I've found that has helped my success, however you want to define that, is my interpersonal relationships with human beings, actual people, being able to talk to people, being able to be genuinely interested in what they're doing, because we are the first internet, just talking to someone. When you connect with someone else, hey, I like what you're doing. Oh, you're a car mechanic. Great. Yeah. All right. I like turtles. And the next thing you know, there's always some way that people want to be involved in helping you. So I had this buddy, and he brings over the manliest torque wrench I've ever seen in my life to help me break my axle nut off. But that's part of, just being able to communicate with people, knowing that on our phones, we've got this library in our hand. There's no reason why we should be helpless anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
that's great. And that was the 4th level. I forgot about that. The big manly torque wrench. You were stoked on that torque wrench.
No, it's gorgeous. I mean, it's chrome. It's a snap-on. It had a lot of torque, and you feel good when you break that axle bolt, because usually I'd have like some cheap little garbage socket wrench and I'd put a pipe on the end of it. It just doesn't work.
Be like Harbor Freight special.
Oh yeah, dude. We got those.
Yeah.
But no, it's fun. It's fun. And now the Audi drives like it's brand new. I feel good. And there you go. Happy story.
How ADHD was that conversation? The fact that we didn't, like, I introduced your name and we went straight into fixing an axle. But that's how we roll on Gold Medal Mindset, because we're winning either way.
I love it, man.
And we did get some gold out of that, because you said what? The human interaction, like, we are the first internet. That was huge. Brilliant.
Thank you. The internet is basically just another way for us to talk to each other and share ideas. So it just happens at the blink of an eye. Prior to that, it's quicker. But you know what? The other cool thing about it is that it has made the world smaller, and thus kind of brought, like, you and I are rapping. We haven't seen each other physically in almost 10 years, but we pick right up. Like, it's just, we're sharing ideas. Just, it's the same. It's like having a small town mindset, but globally.
Right. So for the world who may not know Kenan Harkin, who may not know, because you're big. You're big. You've done some things, and your voice is familiar to a lot of people for sure. So for the world who may not know who you are, You were a kid from Long Island who liked to race BMX, but then at some point you said, I think I'd rather do tricks and take it from there. And now you're running Kamp Kenan. And so that would be another Facebook Live video that was just killing me. You pulled over on the side of the road to save the baby turtles, and you put the baby turtles in the front seat. So tell people how you go from being a professional freestyler to a professional Kamp Kenan reptile dude.
Okay, so the key is to simply always be that. There's no mystery. I mean, if I wasn't riding my bicycle, I was in the ponds of Eastern Long Island, looking for turtles and frogs and snakes. Always fascinated with those animals in general. In fact, the way I bonded with my father, I'm one of 7 kids. And the way I bonded with my dad, it wasn't playing ball. It was never stick and ball. We weren't that kind of family. Never had football on, just didn't care. My dad would call me from outside where I was practicing tricks in the front, in the street out front. He'd be like, "Hey, Kenan, the wildebeest, they're crossing the river again." So it was always like Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom, National Geographic specials. And later on, as I got older, I just loved Steve Irwin. But I always loved the reptiles and always loved bikes. And in a way, it was like, I got lucky with bike riding. You know the story. You love something, you do it, you meet more people that love it. You might have a little bit of a personality. Mm-hmm. I can't help that. And I was never the best BMX rider, but I got sponsors because I was the guy that could talk to kids. I was the guy that, would do that kind of put that effort in. Mm-hmm. So I was decent rider. I did some cool stuff that I'm proud of, but I wasn't Dave Mira. Mm-hmm. And that's okay because I was the Dave Mira of communication. You know what I mean? Like, boom. I could talk to people and get them stoked.
Yeah.
So so that worked. And had a really interesting couple years sponsored with Specialized, and that was a lot of fun. And then I think the really cool thing that happened was, ESPN did a bio on me, and then they saw that I could talk, and it went from there. So I became a broadcaster, and I saw the writing on the wall. I was like, look, I could make more than the first place pro rider winning the event just by talking and not having a collarbone popping out of my shoulder. It just made more sense. You have to know when the universe, God, whoever, whatever you want to call it, puts a talent in your path and you exercise that talent, you have to also know when to seize the opportunity that your talent has provided. So I went for it. And so I decided to go full tilt into that. Had a great career with NBC Sports from 1999 till 2010. I did 2 Olympics with them. I did the Beijing. I have the honor of being the first voice for the first BMX races in the Olympics, which is cool because that's how my love of bikes started, was with BMX racing. So it came full circle. And I did some stuff with the Vancouver Olympics. But right after that, contract went away. Things change as they do. And I met a guy at the Olympics who's now my partner in Kamp Kenan. And basically he asked, what else do you like? And the only thing that has ever been there from the beginning was, the animals and reptiles in particular. So we started Kamp Kenan. I didn't name it that. It was friends that would come to my house down here.
People, 2Ks.
2Ks, yeah. Kamp Kenan. And, people who came to my house, knowing my past with Woodward Camp, living and training at Woodward BMX summer camp and gymnastics camp, they would come to my house and go, man, this is like Kamp Kenan. I mean, I have giant 300-pound tortoises walking around, 13-foot pythons, all my money went to creating a really exceptional quality of life for those animals.
Were you about to say dope? You were about to say dope.
Was I?
I felt like you were about to say dope quality of life, and then you're like,
let's get a little wordy. Yeah, let's up the vocabulary maybe.
Okay.
I can go with dope.
No,
we can go dope.
It is dope, but I felt like
No, but
did he just try to get professional on me?
Oh, come on. I'll frighten you, man. I'll surprise you. No, that's it. And so, having been a kid with always having, fish tanks filled with animals, or, it just like poring over books, a lot of people didn't realize I'm so into biology and science. And it's the other way I get my stoke. Do you know what I mean? It's it's what we were talking about. When you learn something new, or when you figure something out with an animal, how to make its life better. It's really cool. So Kamp Kenan is a YouTube channel that I do because I've taken now my broadcasting career and wanting to be an educator. I now educate whomever wants to subscribe about these animals, how to care for them, how to conserve them. I go on adventures. I do a lot of amazing things. Swimming with sharks. I know, biologists that are doing work with crocodilians, big crocodiles. I'm going to Costa Rica with GoPro in a few months to do a GoPro series about Costa Rica. It's just incredible. And, I love the fact that, you can take the things you love to do, and then along the way, the two help each other. You might think, like I said, it's about people. And it's about being able to communicate with people and let them know what you're all about in a very nice and organic and non-threatening way, and being open, because so many of these connections I made during my BMX and or television days have come full circle to help me with Kamp Kenan. So it's a lot of fun. That's what we're all about.
I remember overhearing a conversation, and I think, well, first I have a little bit of a story, just a little bit of a story. So I recently got a mountain bike, and I love it to death. So, because we have great trails here in Carlsbad. So I take the GT mountain bike, suffer up the hill, and then make really bad decisions coming down. Not bad as in like which direction to go, but bad as in I'm 42, I have kids, I have a job, and I'm going really fast down this hill. However, there's a certain time of year where when you go out, you will see snakes.
I was just going to say,
I am not a snake person. Like, I'm talking heebie-jeebies. I was on Fear Factor once, and I didn't win, clearly. But the whole deal, like, I am the antithesis of you when it comes to reptiles. So I may need to come over there and actually do some exposure therapy and get over my fear with snakes. But I remember overhearing a conversation with you. I know you were teaching us. We were all at a race, and between sometimes there's downtime. I don't know if it was raining or something, but we were talking about snakes somehow, and I think it was like, are they cold-blooded or warm-blooded? And then all of a sudden, you went from Kenan, the dude we know at the races who rides, to like Professor Kamp Kenan, whatever, because you started talking about, well, actually, and then you talked about cold-blooded, and they like to go in the sun because it's not an endotherm, it's an ectotherm. So, am I right?
You retained that information.
And so check it out. So not only did you go to professor mode, but you're a good teacher, because I remember that, and I actually repeat that as if I know about snakes, but I don't.
But you do now. But you do, and it's valid, and you are now Professor Richardson, because that's all I'm trying to do, man. I mean, think about how many people, that's what's baffling to me, is how many people are so disconnected from the natural world, who just don't know what's in their own backyard. And in many cases, not knowing what's in your own backyard could really hurt you. But
agreed.
You guys live in Southern California, Southern Pacific rattlesnake, all over the place. So it's important to, I wouldn't say, someone has a fear of snakes. I'm not going to tell them, don't be afraid of snakes. I would say dial the fear into a respect, get yourself educated, know when these animals are more prone to move about, identify them, and just avoid them. It's that easy. Rattlesnake has a pretty darn good warning system.
Yeah.
It rattles. It lets you know. Most bites happen when people try to kill the animal. They try and remove its head with a shovel. That's when most bites and envenomations happen. So it's best to leave these animals be. But I like that. I always felt like, the best way, I don't want to be like a tree hugger. I'm not, clearly. I just have a respect for those type of animals. I mean, it's easy to see the humanity in like a dog. It's easy to feel connected with a mammal. And I feel like reptiles in particular get a bad rap because when we look at them, they do. They're scary, scaly, slimy creatures. But like when you look at that animal's face, there's no muscles in its face to show you what it's thinking. Like when a dog's angry, it snarls. When a dog's happy, it gives you puppy dog eyes. Reptiles can't do that. It's very subtle. They're nonverbal communication, like the way they communicate. But I think you have to have more. You have to have enough humanity for the animal and you. And I think the education's the key. A friend of mine likes to say the difference between fear and fascination is knowledge.
Yeah, I love that you said dial that fear down to respect, or I would even say reverse it, right? Because or not even reverse it, but kind of superimpose it on each other, because that's
right.
Because that is the thing that holds anybody back in anything is fear. Right. Even so, if we can extrapolate my little being scared of snakes, because I do respect it. And they scare me, but yes, but because of my fear, I respect that animal. So I'm not going near it. I'm going to stay away from it. Do the best I can to deal with it.
You touch on a good point. When you say it applies to a lot of life situations. Honestly, fixing my car. Most people don't try something because they're afraid of breaking it. Well, it's already broken. Okay? It's already broken. So, I mean, that's the one thing. The other thing is like the only thing that stops fear is action. So, I mean, just take some action. Like, if a job's too big, learn about it. But I love that. I love, in the simplest ways, I'm drawn to stories like Batman and like normal human beings that make themselves more than what they are. And, here's that ADD coming again. But basically the reason is all these stories, whether it's the Bible and Jesus rising from the dead, I mean, it doesn't have to be that incredible or that fantastic a story. All they are little parables to tell us, hey, you're a human being. You're going to be scared sometimes. But guess what? You have in you all of these different tools that you can pull from to navigate through it. And that's it. It's the simplest thing. Like everyone is going to have something they need to overcome in their life, Geez, when I got crap canned from NBC in 2010, I thought my life ended. Honest to God, I would use, you'd have to bleep it out. But yeah, they weren't going to renew my contract. That was it. Game over. And so 11 years of my life making, really good money. Okay. Poof, gone. I mean, gone. No college education, nothing to fall back on, no skill or trade. I can do bunny hops on a 20-inch bicycle. That's, and talk about bunny hops on a 20-inch bicycle. So I went through what I would consider the scariest time of my life. And I also have to say that while I was actually in my career, I always was dreading losing my career. I was afraid of that. Mm-hmm. So then it happened and I'm faced with it and it's like, holy crap. I was living down here in Florida with a big mortgage. And I got lucky. I had a buddy of mine. This is crazy. Not many people know this and I have no problem saying it, but I was really up It's Creek without a paddle. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I had a buddy of mine. He's an artistic stonemason. Like he builds pools. He builds, really, he's an artist, but he's a blue collar guy.
Yeah, got it.
Rockscapes, driveways, from simple things like pouring a driveway to creating like an oasis in your backyard. So he said, well, do you want to come? You could come work with me. You'll make $10, $15 an hour or whatever, but I'll pay you cash. And I was like, I had to do it. So I'm doing it with him. And two things happened. One, I realized I don't want to use a jackhammer the rest of my life. Okay. Because it was at this moment I'm jackhammering someone's driveway and to break up concrete. And I'm like, wow, I haven't worked a day in my life. This kind of sucks in a way. Mm-hmm. But then something happened too, because I learned how to express myself, with concrete. And so what happened was, one, it motivated me because I didn't want to be on that. I got on the phone. I got using that Rolodex, like action, right? I was afraid of being this the rest of my life. So I went right into action mode. What do I want to do? What do I want to be? Made some calls, started doing voiceover work for outside television, which was great because I knew someone there, and then started doing Kamp Kenan full tilt. And so that became a motivator. And I'm not trying to bag on hard work, but I knew in my heart I didn't want to be that person. But working that year, doing that, humbled me, and was the rebirth, like I said, I like stories about rebirth or overcoming something. Listen, it doesn't have to be rising from the dead, but in a way, I rose from the dead of a career that once was, and am building something new. So even you've heard this before, I'm sure, in your travels, and many of your listeners have heard it from sometimes the crappiest situation will yield the most amazing results. So I learned how to work with cement. I build the most amazing enclosures for my animals, waterfalls, ponds. Like I do cool stuff in my own backyard, which benefits me and the animals. And I motivated myself to really have faith and do Kamp Kenan, and it's been working, which is insane. So
Nice.
It's just a little story.
Nice.
I ramble.
That's a great ramble, and it reminds me of something that I tell myself, but I don't tell enough people when they're going through a rough time or things are just crappy, is some good will come of this.
Always.
Period. Some
Always.
good have come, and the scary part is, so there we go, fear. The scary part is we don't know how that good will manifest.
I'm going to butcher this story, but there's an old, I think it was an old Buddhist story about a father with a horse or something. He had a bunch of horses just showed up in his farm. And the neighbor goes, "Oh, this is amazing. You have all these horses just showed up in your farm. This is incredible." And the old farmer says, "Well, it could be good or it could be bad." The next day, storm comes, knocks down the gate, and all the horses are gone except one horse. And the neighbor comes over and says, "Oh, this is terrible. All your horses are gone." He's like, "Could be good, could be bad. We have one horse left." Son gets on the horse, tries to break it, instead falls off the horse, breaks his arm. Neighbor says, "That's horrible. Your son broke his arm. Could be good, could be bad." Next day, all the young boys of fit mind and body are sent off to war. So
Right.
it's like the story is his son would have gone. I killed that, but it always stuck with me, and it's a hard thing to practice, wouldn't you say? I mean, when you're in the middle of the doldrums, it's hard to be chipper and say,
Right.
but that's the
I'll
game.
never blow. I don't blow smoke with people. When someone comes in and they're in those doldrums, when they're feeling that, it's like, yeah, this sucks. I'm not asking you to feel good about it. I'm not asking you to not be scared. I am asking you to do something about it, and I am asking you to change some of the rules you've been operating by. But I'm not going to just say, yeah, just I'm not going to promise you it'll be great, but you can be.
It's funny, man. I'm going to come off. I don't want to come off sounding like, this kind of, I'm certainly not a religious person. Okay. But there are lessons in many of the things that I was raised in. You think about having a human experience, you know what I mean? The human experience is to feel everything that we feel. Is to have those moments of despair. And I don't know what comes after life, but I mean, dude, think about it. Maybe all we are is a soul, and we're just in the training ground of being in this human experience to experience like grief, to experience elation, to experience triumph, and that's it. It's to prepare you, to be maybe a more empathetic being, because the older I get, having gone through hard times, the nicer I am to other people.
There's, you always hear stories of the grumpy old guy, the bitter old dude. So that's nice.
They never got through it. I don't know. I'm not old yet. Something may happen to change
well,
all
you say
that.
the
But
older
right now,
I
it's
get.
pretty
But
good.
no, that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, with human development, we go through these growth stages. And I think, and I've said this before, I think as an athlete, because you have this window where you're essentially born, you're a rookie, you become the professional, and then you're retired at the ripe old age of 28 or 30 if you're lucky. You kind of go through you can go through a midlife crisis at 22 as an athlete. And so if you can manage to not just identify as the athlete or not just identify as all I am as a bike rider, those lessons, so now that you actually are in your midlife, there is no crisis or crises. I don't know. I'll have to refer to the academics on that. But there is no crisis because, one, you've kind of done that before. And two, there's this great sense of appreciation because you've done it before and you're like, I've seen the dark side.
Yeah, no, that's spot on, mate. I mean, that is spot on because, I still feel, I'm 42 also, and I still feel that I have a lot left to do. It's just little things you can do for yourself, like just knowing yourself, and you can only know yourself by experience. So we get to this age, or you get to 42 and you've got a wealth of information in the past. But you're still, shit, man, I'm in the gym all the time. I'm feeling good. I feel strong. I feel like, like this is the best my body's ever felt. And, it'll take me another 20, 30 years, like we got a lot to do left.
If only you were in the gym when you were riding. Hello.
No doubt. No, listen, I did a little bit. When I was at Woodward, we trained,
I know.
We trained. I've
seen that. I've been to that gym at Woodward. I liked it because it was so rocky.
It's Rocky 4, dude.
Yes, it was so
Rocky 4.
It was so rocky but it's also funny because it's Woodward, right? It's essentially the greatest place on earth if you're into bikes. And the gym's like the afterthought. But at the same time,
who do you remember?
It was grimy. That's Rocky.
It was good, dude. It was that gym, man.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was a good time.
That's good. You got all these like great pearls of wisdom. It's hard to nail it down. I'm trying to write notes as we're talking.
Smoke and mirrors, Jason. Smoke and mirrors.
I'm engaged in the conversation, but I like how you look at fear, and I like the story about getting fired from NBC, right? Like the greatest network in the like that is probably the most powerful network in the US, right? And here you are working for them or doing work with them, and it's poof, it's gone. We can go an existential route, and we could say, since that was your greatest fear, did you actually manifest that losing the job? We can go into, the fact that, then there's this term called present bias, where we think because things are the way they are, it'll be that way forever, and which also helps with that fear. So you take it away.
No, let me take it because I wanted to. I believe in manifesting your own destiny, you know? So if I'm being honest, that final year, that I was at NBC, I was just not engaged. I was tired of talking about 13-year-old skateboarders in my 30s, trying to make these snotty kids. Some of these kids are just snot bags, man. They were, they're affected. They think they're hot stuff, and I have to make them and like cater to them. Dude, you're riding a skateboard. At the end of the day, you're riding a bike. You're riding a skateboard. You're not. John Parker, a famous freestyle rider, once told me this, and I'll never ever forget it. He is a genius and someone that you should talk to. But John Parker told me, well, I don't know, Kenan. And he's got a great voice, John. He's got this great voice. I don't know, Kenan. He goes, we're not curing cancer.
I was just about to say that. None of us are curing
We're not curing cancer. We're just riding bikes.
Right.
And I thought to myself, yeah. So here I am. It's 2010. I'm like, clocked out. And I said it. I was like, man, I don't want to do this anymore. And I'm at Woodward 2 weeks later. I get the call, and it's scary. Like when you get that call, like, well, wait a minute. I didn't mean so soon, because the money's nice. You can suffer.
Can I not do this and still get paid?
Yeah. And in fact, they bought my contract out. So it was 6 months of getting paid without working.
Wow.
So that wasn't so bad. But, be careful what you put out, man. But it was the best thing I ever did because the only way you grow is through adversity. The only way I was going to learn or take a chance doing something else was by losing what I had, because I was very comfortable. and I could have eked it out for a few more years. So I do believe I set the wheels in motion subconsciously by not being engaged. My superiors probably saw that. Like, why are we paying this dude a bunch of money when we can get another younger guy who'll do it for a quarter of what we're paying him
and be hyped
and be stoked.
Energetic? Yeah,
exactly, man. So you know what? It's on me. It really is. It's on me. And best thing that ever happened. Just know when to turn tragedy into triumph. You know?
And they did.
Whatever.
And they did you a favor. When you first said they bought your contract out and you're paid for 6 months, that you could take that as, wow, I'm really lucky, or you could take that as, man, they really wanted me to go. That they're actually paying me to leave.
Yeah.
So,
but that's the thing NBC does anyway. They do that to a lot of people, but it's okay.
No, I mean, it's a rough business. I've dabbled a bit in that world. So it's a rough business, but I think that's the deal. Like, it's, as long as we're moving. I was literally at a retirement investment deal yesterday for about a half hour. And the guy, and he was a good guy. He knew his stuff. He didn't feel like a charlatan. He wasn't, salesy. He was really just talking to these people about planning for retirement. And I was bugged by it. And I'm not saying people should be not financially prudent and all that, but just the concept of it and the words we use about it, like, we're going to work and save money our whole lives so that we can just get by once we stop working. And then I started thinking, wait, what's the problem with work that we're so can't wait to not do it? Like, that to me is the issue. Why are we subjecting ourselves to stuff that we wouldn't do our whole life if we couldn't? You went to broadcasting because it was a great way to be involved in the sport and it paid well and you were exercising a talent, but it also paid for your bicycle habit for a while too. It's not like you don't know how to ride a bike or you didn't enjoy it any less. So I don't know. It was interesting that this whole retirement and this concept of waiting to the end of your life to enjoy it was like, ugh,
that's foreign
gross.
to me.
Yeah.
No, I agree, but it has to also be said that, we're very, very fortunate people to have luckily landed in this culture, in this world, in this country. Because, there's a lot of luck that has to happen first. And so it's hard to talk to someone from, Sudan or, about like this. It just doesn't compute. And so, in one way we can pat ourselves on the back because we get to do this. But I do have this, because I love animals, I don't want, you shouldn't kill this animal. And I used to be very, people suck and da-da-da-da, and why would you hurt an animal? And then I learned that, there are people in Madagascar and people in Africa that don't eat. Yeah. And if it's the difference between a tortoise being butchered for food, or like my child going hungry, guess what wins every time? Yeah. So as someone who loves animals, I've changed the way I look at conservation, and that's why I focus on, we need to help people. You help people, then you help the animals. And a lot of the people that are doing good work overseas that I know are doing just that. You empower the people to realize these are a natural resource for them. And there are other ways to, we got to lift the world out of poverty, to be perfectly honest, if you want to save animals.
No, I agree. And I literally went around the world this year, traveling with some athletes in their quest to be on the Olympic team of whatever country they were riding for. So Europe, South America twice, and then, wherever else. And I was flying into Brazil, and when you fly into Sao Paulo, I mean, it is whatever you see when you fly into New York City, you can see the city. And I don't know the population of New York City, but you can see the city. And we'll just talk about Manhattan.
Okay.
You can see
it's clearly defined.
It's clearly defined. And you can see where the buildings start and where they end. When you fly into Sao Paulo, you don't see where it starts and where it ends. It's that density it's just
vast
to the horizon. So, and I was thinking to myself, because you get those thoughts on the plane because you're just by yourself. But I was thinking to myself, there is a story in every one of those windows in those buildings, and they were tall. There is a story, and not just one, several, and then I started thinking about fame and, legacy. And I tend to get that way on the airplanes, but I was thinking as I'm traveling and my feet hit the ground, and I thought, this is rough. Some of the streets were rough. Like you couldn't even ride a skateboard on some of the sidewalks because it's just rubble. Yet people are smiling. People are laughing. People are playing cards. People are eating and drinking. I mean, there's a life going on there, so if you could take away the economics out of it, and don't get me wrong, it's not like I'm saying people are like fine within their poverty. Everyone should work to lift everyone up, period. But it did amaze me just how vast and how many stories there are in the world. And so, here I am traveling with all these people trying to make it to their Olympic team. And it's just like, what a luxury. I mean, like how crazy is that? What I gathered from that was there are people living their lives and they may not have, quote, air quote, what we have here in the US or possibly or in Europe, but yet there's still valuable life there. There's still happiness there. There's still everything that exists from a human perspective that exists anywhere else. I don't know where I was going with that, but that's just what I noticed.
Can I get an amen?
That's it.
No, that's cool. That's preach it. No, I hear you. It's just, it just takes a certain amount of maturity to kind of step outside of yourself. When we were kids, we didn't think like that. I want to ride my bike. I want to meet girls. I want to, I want to get famous. I want to get in a magazine.
That was it.
So that was it. But now it's like I said, the older I get, the more empathetic I feel for other people, and other living things.
Nice. So we kind of covered most everything, I think. But I have to ask you some of the gold medal mindset questions, right? They're gold standard questions.
All righty.
And I'm going to ask you two because there's like 7, but you killed it. So what's your biggest win and your biggest loss? Technically, that's 2 questions.
Okay, biggest win and biggest loss. Whew. There have been... these are good. This is a good question. You're making me stutter like a knucklehead. My biggest win, if I'm being honest, is starting Kamp Kenan because I've never been more fulfilled. Okay, my biggest loss, I lost. There's 2, and it's human. It's my biggest loss is losing Dave Mira. Mm-hmm. That's a big loss for me because he was a close friend. He was a professional bike rider who, took his life earlier this year. So that was a big loss. Mostly because there's always a way out. Yeah. Other than that. Yeah. But so that was a big loss. And but if we're talking like in my professional life, I would have said the biggest loss would have been I guess losing NBC.
Right. But see, and that's and I came in quick on that because I had a feeling that you would say that. And so it's an interesting theme is a lot of people, when they go to their biggest loss, at least the people who've been on this show, it's either talked about later or beforehand that actually it wasn't that big of a, like, it was a big loss at that. It was only a big loss at that time. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I'll cross that bridge when I get to it on the show, but I haven't yet had a person to where like they're still suffering from that loss. Like it's almost like that loss kind of made them a little bit, which is which
comforting.
Is such the purpose of this damn show. So it's
actually take comfort in that. Yeah. Viewers or listeners, like when your loss comes, just work through it.
Yeah, if you haven't lost yet, something's wrong.
well, it's funny because the biggest I was worried about the biggest loss is basically it was financial. Okay, but my biggest win is not even financially close to what I used to make.
Yeah.
Okay, but my days are filled. My days are spent at my house. After I hang up with you, I'm going to go out and feed animals. And it's like, I'm like Miyagi, man.
Yeah, no,
I'm just making
that's the
bonsai
deal.
trees.
Yeah, if you can optimize your existence at any price point, you're winning.
Yo, best thing I ever did was lose that money because it makes you lazy. I am smarter, more resourceful, and I found out I don't need a lot of crap to make me happy.
And you
it's
can
like the
work
people
on
you were talking about. Mm-hmm. The people you were talking about are smiling because they don't have a lot of horse in their lives.
Yeah.
I need my house because it has my animals. So I got to come up with the mortgage and the electric, and then I don't stress about all the other nonsense. I have no car payments. I don't need to play that game anymore. Like, I got to have a dope car. I got to look good for the girls. Whatever, man. You put that out, you get the wrong kind of people in your life.
Yeah. There's no gym selfies from Kenan, ladies. Sorry.
No, but I go to the gym. What are you going to do?
So, all right. So the last question I will leave, we will end on this, and I do appreciate, we'll actually end with how people can find you, but I will end with this. This will be the last thing I ask you is, what do you wish every human knew?
Wow. These are good questions.
Well,
what do I wish every
human
psychologist knew? I know, it's not fair.
It's totally fair.
I forget. That's really cool. And I'm proud of you. I think it's really awesome. Yeah, good for you. What do I wish every human knew? That I'm going to go with something my dad told me a long time ago. And he's like, everything that you need is inside you already.
I don't mean to laugh, but
no.
That's a theme in this show. And it's so great that.
No, everything you need is inside you already. We didn't even touch on it, but I'll touch on it here.
Touch on it.
I have never imbibed alcohol, nicotine, marijuana, any drugs of any kind except antibiotics if I got sick. And the reason for that is because somehow, number one, when I was young, I saw family members get destroyed by it. Number two is I got lucky in riding a bike and exploring that kind of expression. But then I realized everything that you need is already in you. If you want to be happy, you're in control of that. You can do things to make you happy. No other person's going to make you happy. If you're sad, feel it. I wish every person on earth would just be comfortable experiencing the human condition. Just don't numb it. Because that's why we have so many people walking around like zombies, man. They try and numb everything that they might perceive to be as bad. And in turn, when you numb that side of you, you're forgetting all the good stuff that's going on too. I like being a receptor. You know what I mean? I like feeling all of this. It's pretty exciting. So that's it. I hope that was a sufficient enough answer. And there you go.
That's more than sufficient. I would call that answer robust. How's that?
Wow. There you go.
You're a life junkie.
I love it.
That's good.
Keep on keeping on.
That's
good. No, I do. I like it. It's been all right. So
how can people find you, and more importantly, how can they support what you're doing?
Very cool. If you are interested in checking out some of my adventures, go to the Kamp Kenan YouTube channel. That's KampKenan. Search it out on YouTube. I would love to earn your subscription. And you can also check out kampkenan.com. We're just starting up. We got a little store selling some shirts, but just basically we are trying to, generate interest in educational fun program with yours truly. And I'm not always so serious. I hope I didn't come off.
Yeah, man.
I hope I didn't come off so serious,
you're
man.
So serious. I mean, I don't know. I think the listeners are probably just yawning. They're just like, oh, thank God, this guy. How droll.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot of fun on the show. And, if you have children, if your listeners out there have children, it's, family friendly. I'm all about educating the younger members of society. So, check it out. Maybe you have a son or daughter who loves reptiles and they want to check it out. And I'd like to see you on the comments. I answer comments. Takes a long time, but I do get back to people. So I'm interactive. And that's that, man. That's how you do it.
Nice. Nice. It's always nice when I have someone on the show who's hosted a show before, because they kind of just like they intuitively just like close me out for me. So with that said, it is Kenan Harkin and Jason Richardson signing off on the Gold Medal Mindset. Thank you. It's been great having you on. Good catching up. And we should not just only catch up on Facebook. It'd be great to do some face-to-face stuff in the future for sure.
For sure, man.
Thanks for taking the time to mine for gold on the Gold Medal Mindset podcast. Let's keep the conversation going on Twitter at RealDrJRich or on the web at drjasonrichardson.com. That's drjasonrichardson.com. Take care and have a great day.